Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to be in community with you to share a little bit more insight on the Leadership Collaborative as we are nearing the close of our applications for the Leadership Collaborative second cohort of 2024. We're going to spend some time together sharing the lived experiences of our inaugural cohort, a few of our members from TLC23, the agitators, just so you can have a little bit more insight as to what the program is, what some of their experiences were, why they even applied, and what the impact was on their leadership. So, without further ado, let's bring on some of our agitators of TLC 23. Hello, family. It's so good to see you all. Thank you so much for joining us today to share a little bit about your experience being the inaugural cohort of the Leadership Collaborative. So I feel like we should just get started by introducing ourselves. So I'll start. My name is Tarshawn Renee Kane the First. I am the executive director of the Black Principals Network, proud 2020 alum of the Chicago Fellowship for Surge Institute, and forever a principal where I served in leadership for 10 years. And we can get started with Ashley.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Peel. I'm super excited to be here. I am located in Washington, D.C. I'm the principal of KIPP DC Grow Academy, where I serve 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. And I have been in leadership for 10 years. I'm in the capacity of vice principal and principal. And yeah, I'm excited to be here and share my story.
Thank you. Get shift on to you, Sanaya.
Hello, everyone. I am Sanaya McBride. I am coming to you from Jacksonville, Florida, Duval. Yes, down here in good old Florida. And it's cold. Can you believe it? It's cold in Florida. But I am here and I'm excited. I have been in leadership, serving in capacity as assistant principal and principal for 15 years now, going into 16. 6 of those years as a principal, serving BPK to fifth grade at the Stellar Choice Biscayne Elementary Leadership Academy. And I am happy to be here today.
All right, thank you. And rounding us out.
Hey y'all, I'm Delante. I'm from the west side of Chicago. Hope I got some west side of people. And it's for real cold in Chicago. I don't know what cold Florida feels like, but I know that if you in Chicago, it ain't no cold like Chicago. I currently a principal at UIC College Prep, one of the Noble schools, high school. So I work with the big kids. I've been in leadership for about 7 years, and yeah, I'm excited to like have this conversation. I am also a Surge alum, so I'm a member. I have to represent my course. Like I'm part of the disruptors in addition to being an agitator. So I'm a disruptive agitator, which is a nice ring to it.
It is. It is. Thank you all. Thank you so much. I did not say this. I'm sorry. I represent the South Side of Chicago, the side that matters. Okay. All right. So as we transition, we're gonna kind of just keep it as a conversation. I have a couple of questions that I want to ask you, and I want each of you all to take the opportunity to share your insight with us on your experience. And we can just start with, I'm going to start with you, Sanaya.
Mhm.
So, first question is, can you describe a specific way which the cohort experience has impacted your leadership style or your approach to school leadership? So, we're thinking about like impact and growth for you.
Yes. So the cohort it's so many things that happen during this experience, but one thing in particular that definitely impacted my leadership style and how I lead as a leader is our PD on the Strength Finders. I don't know if it was because it was so intense or because it really caused us to go deep. Me in particular, dig deep. One of my number one was positivity, and I know that I do lead from that lens. But what the PD allowed me to do was to look at my basement and determine, am I why am I going to my basement? Am I triggered? And it helped me be more conscious of that in my leadership style and helped me make those adjustments when I was leading in my building. That is something that I took back to my building and used with my leadership team. It not only impacted me as a leader, but it has impacted my team and how we lead and support our teachers, our students, and our families. So that was the most impactful experience for me in the cohort, but it's so many more. But that one is definitely the most impactful. And it was led by the great Dr. Amanda Akins, my soror. So just wanted to put that out there.
Great. Thank you so much. I will now shift to my soror, Ashley P. If you could just go ahead and share a little bit about your experience, please. Thank you.
Well, obviously, my experience was being in the company of incredible Delta Sigma Theta sorors,
Wow.
all love. I was also going to share the Strength Finder, particularly because it gave me the language to describe how I show up in the work and be
Mhm.
able to share that embedded in my story. So I would say, like, the experience of having to tell my narrative to my cohort members and really think about who am I, how do I want to lead, and what has gotten me here. Because I was very nervous to tell my story in front of y'all. So it really had me think about what did I want to share. And it challenged me to think about how can I do the same. and share parts of me with my staff that I haven't before, and really lean into my strengths in telling that narrative. As it relates to my school community, just having the cohort experience was like an exhalation that I didn't know I needed. So I was able to show up in a way more like present state of mind for my school community and my staff.
Thank you. Brother Delante.
Yeah, I don't have anything different. That's what they said. I think overall, the experience just taught me to dream again, and I think it did that through a lens of how do I center my genius, and like the highlight was being able to do that through the work we did with the Strengths Finder. I think it taught me one, what triggers my basement, because I think many times like we want to lean into asset-based transformational leadership, but many times we don't talk about like there are things that can trigger us to not lead from our assets. And I really appreciated just like the conversation we had around like what makes me leave from a place that's not reflection of my highest and best self. And I think it just gave me language. Brene Brown, in one of my favorite books she writes, is called Atlas of the Heart. She talks about we need language as expansive as the human experience. She says that language is a portal. So I think just the conversation around our strengths gave me access to a world and understanding myself. And to Sanai's point, like I also then brought that back to doing the work with my leadership team. And I think that has helped anchor them where it wasn't just this performative, let's talk about your strengths, but like now in every conversation, I'm asking them like, how are you leading from your strengths and what is triggering like your basements? Because sometimes we live in that basement and we don't know it. So being able to like tell on ourselves and recognize like, yeah, you got me in my basement right now and I'm not being my best self. How can I like name that and like get back to living in my highest and best self?
Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. I totally appreciate that. And it's very, our founder often says that it is difficult or you can't intellectualize a spiritual experience. And that's exactly how I feel like all of our surge experiences are. But additionally, in this particular space, sometimes it's very hard to quantify the impact. So thank you very much for sharing that. Next question. So we know that school leadership is full of ups and downs, and there's challenges and there's also solutions. So if you can share, what were some of the most significant challenges you faced during the cohort and how were you supported in overcoming them? And we could start with Ashley.
Awesome. So for me, my biggest challenge, so there was two. The first one was, as I shared earlier about the escalation, in our self-care session, I didn't realize how on the brink of burnout I was until I was in that session. And I was like reflecting on what makes me irritable and like how I'm feeling and how I'm going to show up differently at my job. And so I think the challenge was not knowing and not giving myself space to like pause and reflect and kind of like get off the treadmill. And the experience allowed me to do that. It forced me to say, you're putting your development at the center of the work, and that's going to help you be a better leader. So that was number one. The second challenge was that onboard new leadership team members to my leadership team, two new baby leaders, very green. And I had to do a project about exactly that. Like, how do we onboard leaders into this work, all while also being the principal that sets the vision, that lives the vision out? So I was able to live my challenge and collaborate and ideate on how to solve my challenge. So it's a very unique experience for me.
Tershawn, you on mute.
We can go to reverse. Delante, thank you. It happens at least once a day.
Yeah, I understand. It's that virtual life. One, I feel like someone said it, and I agree with it. Like Surge BPN was my HBCU experience that I never had. So, like, I think one, there was just power in just being around people that look like me, and like if it was a Black experience. I think like from what we ate, from what we talked about, to the music we listened to, just like that sense of belonging and connectedness. I think yes, to the self care. I think the thing that resonated with me that I found most impactful actually came in like the executive coaching piece with Serge. I always tell people like don't procrastinate in doing it because I was one of those people, and I'm grateful for the accountability to sign up and do it because I think being able to have someone who looks like me, having another brother who's done the work for many years, be able to sit in space with me and talk me through my experiences and help me find ways to make the work more sustainable was impactful. And how that translated it to is like me thinking through like how am I really developing my leadership team. I think in the role of principalship, we can get so caught up into like the tactical and technical aspects of our work that we're not thinking about helping people grow and develop to the point where sometimes they don't even want it. Like we gotta talk about the work. And it's like, no, actually let's talk about balconies and basements and like how can we grow and develop and become better for the people we serve and for our students. So I really found that aspect of like pushing myself to really censor the development of those that I lead and thinking through like how does that then translate over to like the folks that they lead and then ultimately the communities that we serve.
Thank you. Shout out to Andrea for making sure that you complete your executive
Yes.
coaching. All
Yes.
right. And Sanaya.
So I am going to piggyback off Delante because I was definitely going to talk about some of the challenges I was experiencing as a leader, a school leader. It's kind of like a marriage. So, you know, you have that honeymoon period, and then you have that period where they say, okay, if you make it past the 10 years, then you okay. So I was at that mark like, I don't know if I'm make it, I don't know if I'm gonna make it past the 10 years. But the collaborative found me. They found me. I found them. I fell in love. And my executive coach, she was amazing. She helped me navigate some situations that I could not necessarily, and I know we laugh, but I couldn't necessarily have those conversations with the people in my district. And having her as that person to help me navigate, help me steer, just able to bounce ideas off, and talk about different solutions really helped me work through the challenges that I have been experiencing this year. And that was so needed. It was so needed. It's kind of like therapy, you go to a therapist and like, okay, I can do this. And that was my thing. That's how I was supported. And that relationship, I know this is probably going to another question, but it turned into more than an executive coaching relationship. So I'm very grateful for this experience and the collaborative and the agitators because it definitely did what it needed to do.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And yeah, let's transition to the next question. So, I would love to know how the cohort experience specifically facilitated networking, which you talked a little bit about, and building relationships with other Black school leaders. And how have those connections benefited you professionally? And well, you kind of talked about personally, but professionally. So, thinking about network and relationships, if you could share a little bit of that. Start with you, Delante.
Yeah, I think one like I'm a part of the Noble Network of charter schools, and I'll name like it is a very close knit and incredible network of like some exceptional leaders in our city and our nation. But what I appreciate about this experience with TLC is that I was able to be around some folks who look like me, who had some similar challenges of what it meant to like be a Black leader. So just knowing that I can like call somebody and just like have a real conversation about like the white supremacy of it all or the microaggressions or even sometimes like what I am like projecting onto my own self where like it just could just be me and my own belief in myself and like knowing that like I'm not the only one who have those thoughts. Like maybe I'm not the one who's supposed to be leading in this capacity. Maybe there's something wrong with me, and just being able to have a community that says like no, you're not crazy, you're not tripping, like no, that ain't right. And just knowing that I have a village that I can go to. And then also just folks where we can talk about like best practices, but like there's just been some like leadership moves that I've been able to like make and adapt, just knowing that I have a community who's like doing some incredible work in our nation and just being able to like tap into them and like leverage just their genius.
Thank you.
I'll jump in. For me, I agree. I think it's that HBCU didn't know I needed feel. I'm also applying for the Surge Fellowship, which is not something I would have known about had it not been for TLC. I'm hoping this helps me get in, y'all. um, but I just think my biggest push for myself, because I'm an introvert extrovert, was to network. Like, I signed up to say, like, it is your job, if you're gonna put yourself at the center, to like make meaningful relationships, show the people who you are, have the conversations. And like, our G chat be popping off, and I'm like, yes, I need to see all the selfies and all the people, connections from like how to facilitate PD on a national level, like how to contract out, like how to be a coach. Like, those things are kind of like where I'm heading in my career. And so it just feels good to know I've had examples of that and have people who can support me in that next part of my journey.
Ditto to it all. It's the sisterhood, it's the brotherhood for me. I feel like I have another family, and not just on a personal level, but professionally as well. I know if I need anything, I can call on anyone in our cohort, and they're there. Whatever idea or brainchild that we might have, we can collaborate, bounce ideas off of each other, and we're all over the nation. Like, that's to have that is so powerful, to know that you have a family out there who's going to support the work that you are doing, because the work is hard and you need that. Even though you might have a small cohort where you are, but to know you have people all over the nation, and not just the cohort, but the amazing people that were invited to impart into us, to make those connections and to build those relationships, and to be able to send an email or send a text, like really send a text, and we can have conversations, or I'm in your city. So it's just amazing. And for anyone who's listening, I hope you take advantage of this, because the networking and the connections, that's just the cherry on top of this experience.
Thank you. Yeah, the role is very isolating. And that is the ultimate goal, is to figure out how to build community, and also how do we make it more sustainable? Like, because this work is hard, it is grueling, but it is also so rewarding. And what we've seen is thank you. What we've seen is the great resignation for some. So how do we keep each other lifted and supported so we can stay in these seats? And that is the intent. So that kind of leads us to the next thing. So what key skills or knowledge did you gain from the cohort that you have since applied in your role as a school leader? So specifically talking about your skills and learning, what did you walk away with?
So I'll start. When Dr. Femi came, and was another powerful PD that happened. But what she talked about many things, but one thing in particular that she talked about was who we have in our building. How do we hire? How do you decide who's going to be a part of your team? And I can admit, when you said great resignation, it just brought all of that up. It's like, okay, oh, I need to fill my spots. I need to make sure I have people here, but quality over quantity. And her session just brought that back into light. She had us do our values and commitments and determine what was our top three. And now when I interview, which will be a hint for whoever wants a job at the Stellar Choice, I have them fill that out, because I need to know that your commitment and your value align with the vision of the school. And if that top three is nowhere in there, then you might not be a good fit for where we're at. And I use that with everything. And when I tell you it has worked, I had this last year, I had some great hires based off of that session with her. So that's one of the things that I've taken back with me.
Yeah, I just jump on that. I had Dr. Femi come in. I actually had two facilitators come in to do to facilitate sessions with my leadership team. So we had Brother Terrence Pruitt, who is dope and a beast in the field, and Dr. Femi Skanes, who also came in. And it was just like a transformational experience for my leaders, just to like kind of have a taste of what we experience in TLC. So I think that was one thing. I think also when talking about hiring, it's that tension. Like I need to get somebody in front of kids, but I want to get the right people. So I think to me, one of the overarching things in my experience, which is a through line in my life, to be vulnerable, it is like trust myself. I think many times as a Black man navigating white centered spaces, there's a lot of things that tell me what you think isn't right. And I think this experience taught me like, no, like you have this blueprint that your DNA, in your DNA, that your ancestors have passed on that allowed you to be qualified for the space. So I think it's allowed me to trust myself where like I have not, there's been some people like, I can't hire this person. So that has been the like, hey, leadership team member, I need you to teach 2 periods. I'll take on coaching your people because like we got to make sure we have the right people in front of kids. And like it's been hard, but also we've made sure that we've had the right people in front of our students. And then I also think, and I named this earlier, just like really thinking about like just developing my people. I think it matters. And like I've really been like doing work and like how am I like making time to like develop my leadership team? And then also like what are some ways that I can pour into them? Like what are other outside of my community opportunities that like I can say, hey, go take advantage of this PD so you can continue to learn and grow. Because many times you all know, and Terashawn, you just said it, like many times leadership is lonely. Like you don't have people pouring into you. And I want to make sure that I'm finding ways to pour into my leaders. And that came from this experience.
Very similar. I would say the development of my leaders. I did do the leadership strengths finder with them, but also was a crucial conversations PD for me. I think as a leader, sometimes it's hard to admit that we also don't want to have those conversations. But I think what that PD taught me was just to lean into that authenticity, to just say, hey, I don't want to be in this accountability conversation either, but we're going to have it. And here are my expectations. And that was really freeing for me to just be honest about it versus like withholding that truth. So planning for those and just the skills there. And then I just go back to just my strength finder, like knowing my top 5, knowing that like I will get input from all of the people to create my strategic plan. That is what I will do. So yeah.
Thank you. Um, yeah, I feel like Strength Finders definitely teaches us a lot about ourselves, but also just how we show up to others. And I think that um, that's definitely something that you take into your conversations, you take into hiring in your building. And I think that something you said that was so critical was like really leaning into the values that you have for your building, because oftentimes we'll make like desperation hires because we need to put somebody in front of our kids, right? It's that accountability piece. But I also feel like the difficult conversations allows you to have those conversations with your stakeholders. Like we're looking for the best fit, not any fit. We're looking for the best fit for our babies. So thank you for that. So I'm curious. I know, and I actually would love to start with you, Sanaya. Can you talk about um, what aspect of the cohort experience did you find most unique or valuable, particularly as a Black school leader? So thinking about what makes the leadership collaborative unique.
Because it was specific, it was curated for us, like for us by us, FUBU. When I didn't know what to expect, I really didn't. But when I walked into that hotel in Houston and walked into that space, and I'm like, wow, like I've never been a part of anything that was specifically designed for me as a Black woman leader. Um, and the intentionality, just every little small detail was so unique. I can't even, it's hard to put words to it. When I try and explain it to my colleagues, like this, you have to experience it to get the full grasp, because my words can't even convey what the experience was. um like, I don't know, you're a genius, you're brilliant, Tarshawn, because I guess coming from your space, you knew what we needed. And I don't want to get emotional, but the whole experience was unique. It was so needed, especially for me, in this time of my career. And it it just it I can't put the words to it. I can't put the words to it, but it definitely made me know that I was where I was supposed to be, and that I was doing the work that I was called to do, and that I am brilliant. Yes, I am brilliant. I was always brilliant. I am still brilliant. And it just restored my confidence in being a Black school leader.
Thank you.
I'm just cheesing because you nailed it. I mean, there's really, it's just divine. It was the divine experience from our opening ritual, setting intentions. I feel like we had like very outer body moments together, like around just different words of remembering who we are. I don't know. It's just we got insiders for days. um, I also just think for me, being a principal, somebody once told me that my coach once told me that being a mother and being a principal were the two hardest jobs she's ever done because they both required her to look in the mirror on a daily basis. And I think what made this super powerful for me is that I wasn't holding the mirror by myself, but I had like community holding the mirror up alongside me to say, like, when I want to look away, y'all, I know y'all have my back to be like, to your point, like, you're brilliant. You got this. You don't have to look away. Um, and it is emotional because I just feel like we were the first, so we're the best.
Max, I think actually that last part you said resonated because I think there's one element where like the mirror means like let me help you reflect. But I also think in this space it was also a mirror where it says like I see you. Um, like it was a space to be seen. And and as y'all were talking, the thing I wrote down was like it's the space that we've been looking for. That like I tell people like if my school can feel like TLC, I've done the work. Because it is a space where you belong. It's a space where you are embraced. Like all the our parts of us. So like even those broken parts that we try to hide is welcomed in that space, and it's embraced in that space. And I think Tara Sean, you said it like it is a spiritual experience. The reason that it may sometimes be hard to like put it into words because it's not something that we can intellectualize. It is you just experience it and you experience the transformation. And then the beauty of it is anytime you come into the presence of just one other person, like you can do it. They joke about me because I sometimes go preach it, but it makes me think like what two or three I gathered. Like that's what happens. All it takes is just me to like call one other person, and like that experience is now cultivated. So it's not just even during the cohort. It now becomes this like lifelong village and community that you have because of what was like created in that space. But yeah, it is the space that we've all been looking for. It's holistic. It's not just about leadership. It is about the human experience. So like we talked about self-care. We talked about remembering, bringing those broken parts that we were trying to heal together and like going back and getting our highest and best selves. And then also it is about leadership and like what are the tactical things that we can apply to the work that we do on a day-to-day basis. So like it's again, it's the HBCU experience, it's church, it's connectedness, it's belonging, it's Thanksgiving, it's soul food, it's all of that and so much more.
Oh, wow. Y'all got me blushing, but I do want to correct one thing. Thank you for honoring, like, or giving me credit, but it really is not. The credit is not mine. This I am a co-curator of this space, and the leadership collaborative was designed. Whereas the content, I mean, the concept might have been like, oh, we need this space, but it was designed and the content chosen was based off of you all and what you said you needed. So it came from, that's why it felt intentional. In addition, that is just what Surge is. We're very good about putting intention behind it because ultimately, in order for you to lead authentically, you have to feel seen, valued, and heard. And that is the walk away. That is the thing that we want people to leave with, especially in this role, because it can be thankless and it is heavy. It is so heavy. So I feel like what makes it hard is because, or what makes it feel like it's tailored to you is because it is. It is based off of what you all said you needed. It is based off of a space that people said they needed. Because whereas for us, and I've said this before, it is not uncommon for me to be sitting across from somebody that looked like me when I was a school leader in Chicago public schools, where I was at, you know, Joseph Lovett, where we still love it at Lovett. Okay. But um, it wasn't uncommon for me. But when we think about across the country, how uncommon it is for so many other people to find that community, to find that space. And what we also know is that when you heal leaders, you heal buildings, you heal teachers, you heal kids. You know what I'm saying? You heal the future
Mm.
because part of it is making sure that you all are able to walk away with some of those practices and use them in your building. So thank you for that, but I can't take credit for that. That is definitely coming from you all. All right. So got one more question, and then I'm gonna ask you all to wrap around something. Based on your experience, what advice would you give to prospective applicants to help them get the most out of the cohort experience? So, really thinking about our prospective TLC 24 people that are on the fence, people that are like, oh, I don't know anybody or anything like that, or people that just don't know what to expect.
Just apply.
Mhm.
Literally, like literally on the phone with hopefully a future TLC24 cohort member, and I was like, the application is due tomorrow, so go on and get it together and hit send. um Show up for yourself by applying, and when you get in, like, show up by being able to like let your guard down, network, show who you are, even through the awkwardness, because like once you do it, you give permission for others to do the same, and then it will make your experience everything.
Yeah, same thing apply. Don't hesitate, apply. And if you are chosen, if you're one of the chosen, just be open to the possibilities that will be presented to you. Let your guard down. If you're an introvert, extrovert, because we have a lot of introvert, extroverts, let your guard down. You're definitely among family. You're in a safe space. So take it all in, lean in, and own the experiences. Is it'll be worth every moment.
Yeah, apply. Um, like I said earlier, like it's the space that we all wanted. And sometimes many of us may have never experienced, like it becomes something that like you take on for life and you appreciate for life. And I think it's to actually like then when you get accepted, lean in, like give all of you to that space because that space will then give you all that you need. And it'll be a thing that it'll last for a lifetime. But yeah, apply. Apply.
All right. So another question. So we hear this term a lot. People say it often. Authentic leadership. Like, what does it mean to show up authentically? All of that kind of stuff. So, for some, it might be off the cuff, but I would love to know, how has being a member of the Leadership Collaborative or Black Principals Network or Surge Institute, because it's all of those things, how has this allowed you to show up authentically?
I'll say like it allowed me to one dream again. I think like this work can like cause us to forget why we came here in the first place to do the work. And we all have this freedom dream. So I think it one re-anchored me in my freedom dream. And then I think for me, I actually told my staff this, where like I have become an expert in like being able to like filter myself. Like I'm really good at that because I'm like, I don't know if I want people to see the angry black man. So like how can I make sure I like cover up those parts really, really good? And I think for me, I've learned like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, this ain't okay. This ain't cool. And like being able just to lean into that part, and me saying that I am in the process of doing that now. So I don't even speak from a place of like checkbox, I've done that, but like speaking from the place of like I am now experimenting every day on how I can like give my most authentic self to the spaces that I'm in. And I think the good thing is that each moment that I do it now becomes a testament to like I can do it, which then gives me more confidence to do it again and do it again. So taking those steps to just like experiment on like, no, it is actually okay for me to like lean in authentically and like trust that part of me as well. And not trust the part that got the education and got the experience, but like, no, that West Side boy that wants to show up sometime is also validates why I show up for my West Side kids and for my South Side kids. I love my South Side kids too. All my kids I love. But yeah, that's how it has helped me show up authentically.
Same, Delante. I am definitely, I'm not going to say more confident because I was confident before, but as you know, as you do this work, it starts to play with your mind, and you start to question things. Going through this experience has allowed me to walk in that confidence again, and I show up as who I am, whether you like it or not. I'm not going to dumb it down. I'm not going to dull my shine. I'm going to shine. I'm going to be stellar in every space I step in. And if you don't like it, that's your issue. It's not mine. And TLC brought that back. So I'm stepping high again and I am walking authentically in my leadership.
Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to make sure my dog doesn't make a candid on our live programming here. You know, she believes in leadership too. But the way that I show up authentically is honestly, it really goes back to my strengths, because that flexibility part, I think I was resisting acknowledging that it's also one of my values, to be flexible in this work, to be flexible with children, to be flexible with our families, and to do that through compassion. And like, I stand on that now. Like, I don't apologize for giving kids a second chance or for being flexible with a staff member as long as they do my expectations. And I think that I kept saying, like, I lead authentically, like what you see is what you get, but now I can define it and I can be explicit in what I mean. Like, I'm compassionate and also these are my expectations. Like, I'm flexible and also these are my expectations. And to your point, is Sanaz, just like, whether you like it or not, this is what it's going to be. And I'm going to be able to speak very direct, and I'm going to be able to speak to you with a lot of clarity because I'm clear on what I believe. And that's kind of where I'm at now.
Thank you. So we are actually nearing kind of time. So I would just like for you all to share if there's anything else that you would like to offer into this space, anything that you don't feel like you quite covered. This is an opportunity for us to do one last wraparound. Um, yeah.
Well, I would just like to say, I think we covered everything. We could probably talk more about different experience, but it's so worth it. I just want to echo that again. If you are watching and you are a school leader, a Black school leader, this is your space. Apply. You will not regret it. It is so worth it. And it's something that you will carry with you for the rest of your life. So please, please, please apply. And if you get in, take full advantage of the opportunity.
The only last thing that I will say for any future applicant is, particularly for those in-person sessions, show up. Like, your building will be okay. They will survive without you, because it really is something you can't get back.
I feel like Ashley, your dog is also like encouraging folks to apply as well. That's what
Tell
that was.
you, my dog, I mean, I'm surprised she didn't jump on top of me, y'all. She is very rude when it comes to the virtual space. I apologize.
Yeah. There's a short story about these two men, this old man and this young man. having a tree cutting competition, and the young man was like, "I will cut way more trees than you." And they go in competition. The young man is like going at it, cutting trees after trees after trees after trees. And every time he looks behind him, you see the old man just sitting there chilling. And he's like, "What is this dude doing?" And then he goes back to cutting trees. Like, I'm about to destroy him. And at the end of the competition, they count how many trees was cut down. And the old man cut down twice as many trees as the young man. And then gonna look like every time I look back, you wasn't doing anything. Like, how did this happen? And he said, "Well, while you was cutting, I was sharpening my axe,
Mm.
which allowed me to cut more." And I think that TLC is a space where we can get our edge back. I think many times as Black folks, like we've just been in spaces that have just like hurt us and harmed us, um, and watered down our brilliance and genius. And like this is a space to like sharpen yourself. It's worth it, and it's okay to like we just take a moment and like sharpen it, because like some of us have this genius, and TLC is a space to cultivate that genius, and like allow us to give birth to that gift that we have. So I really encourage you all to apply, because some of us have lost our edge, and like this is a space where you can get your edge back.
I love that. Get your edge back. We have a new one to add to the insights.
Right.
But now you all are a part of it. You get to know what get your edge back means. So thank you all so much. Um, I appreciate you all sharing your brilliance. I appreciate you all sharing your experience. But most importantly, I know I appreciate your presence and the fact that you are vulnerable in this space. Um, I know you all have like competing priorities as well, which is something that our school leaders battle daily. But I think that something that was said that was also very important was that you have to be able to show up for yourself. You have to be able to pour into yourself. And so, one of the things that we definitely cover is really about leaning into distributive leadership, because there is something wrong that we feel like we can't leave our building. Like it's going to burn down without us. So that is one of the ways that we try to make it more sustainable, right? What does distributive leadership really look like, and how do we build the leaders that you have mentioned, Ashley? How do we empower others so that they can help us do this work? Because we got to take these capes off. It is really about us being able to sustain ourselves in this work, and also about the legacy we're leaving for others. Because what is that model for your teachers? What is that model for your kids, right? So thank you. Thank you again for sharing it. And thank you for all of you all that have joined us for this small live. Any questions that you all have, please do not hesitate to reach out to bpn at surgeinstitute.org. Applications close tomorrow at 11:59. So if you are on the fence, apply. You've seen it in the chat, apply. Um, I tell people all the time, and I literally just told my daughter this, like, you don't tell yourself no, you let somebody else tell you no. So you have to apply. You don't know what is going to happen until you apply. But if you don't apply, you definitely know you will not be in TLC 24. So looking forward to all of those applications, looking forward to learning more about you all, and looking forward to growing our TLC family and adding to our Surge Institute family. So thank you all for your time.
Leave.